And here in the main toolbox, we have the option to create input documents with this button. It's the same functionality as the other buttons. You can just click here to see the list and manage your input documents, or you can just create in the green button and it will create directly your input document. You'll see this same screen from here, from the green create button. Okay, so we have this screen here for the input document settings, and you can add the title here, the title for this input document. This will be the object, the input document object name. So you can just type something like my first input and document. Okay. Then you have the document type here. It could be a digital printed or digital printed. This is just like informative options here. So for instance, if it's printed, it could be an original legal copy, a copy, digital and printed. You can also select the same options, and you won't have this if it's digital, right? Because you don't need to say if it's the original printed copy. So just get the information here. Let's say digital, for instance, or okay, let's change it to printed. This could be a legal copy, and let's add a description here. This is, or yeah, this is a legal copy of my documents, like that. Okay, we also have the enable versioning drop down here. You can say yes or no, and this is to keep a track of the version of the files when these files are uploaded more than one time. So in this case, if you set versioning to yes, then the files will be uploaded. It will be uploaded with an ID for the document. It will also upload it with the original name, but that name will be stored in the database. And it will add a version at the end of this file, like this is the first time the file is being uploaded, and if you upload it again, it will change the version to number 2, and it will go on like that. So you can just enable versioning or say no. Let's say we're going to enable it. You have the destination path, and this is a path. This is just a logic path. It would not be a physic one in the server. That means it will not create the folders with the path you're going to type here. It's just going to create it, like I said, as a logic path, and it will be stored in that way in the database. So we have our document management here in Process Maker. I'll show you the document manager after this, but that logic path will be created in that document manager. So that's where you'll see your custom path to store your files. So you can also add variables to this path. For instance, you can add, for let's say, a folder for each user who submits a case. So it could be the user logged from here, from the system variables, or you can use a global variable created in your process to define the logic path. So it could be, for instance, this will be John Doe files, and will be like legal copies. You can just add the values there. So let's do something like this. Username, let's use username here, and then we can add a slash and say legal documents, and that's it. You can also use tags for your input documents, so it can be easy to search your files later from the document manager. So you can use any path you want here. Let me get back here. Let me just scroll down a little bit. And here we have the description for the tags. So all these tags will be associated to your input document. You can also use variables to add specific tags, like for instance the username. So you can search files by typing the username, and you will just filter all those documents that have a tag associated to those it with the username from the user who submitted the case or who attached the file. You can add more than one tag, just separated with commas. So you can just add all the tags you need, like input, like legal copy, and that. Okay. Then we have the allow file extensions, and you can use dot and star to allow any extension to be uploaded. I remember we did a quick sample with this the first day or the second day, I guess. So you can just add the extension of files you will allow your users to upload into the cases as attachments. Like for instance, it could be PNG files, or it could be um, JPG files. It could be any extension you need here. So take a look here. We have this example. You can just separate it by commas to allow more than one extension here. So let's get back here like this. Let's say we want to allow PNG files like that. Okay. We also have the maximum file size. 0 is unlimited. You can add any size you want. It could be in kilobytes or megabytes. So you can just decide which unit you're going to use and what will be the max size. So have in mind again that if you set a really big limit like 100 megs, this means that a huge file could be selected, and it could take some time to upload the file. So if PHP is not properly configured, maybe this will not work. So in PHP you should have the max file size input to it should be set to 100 megs, or at least 100 megs, so you can upload the files. The max post size as well should be bigger, and also the max execution time, because it could take more than 30 seconds. 30 seconds is default to upload this 100 megabytes. So you should do a combination with these settings in PHP and your input documents. So we can leave this like this, and then we can just save, and there it is. That's my first input document. Take a look into this. We also have this show ID button here, because this ID could be used to for any other functionality in our process. Like for instance, we can use it with triggers to upload files with code directly. It could be also used from outside Process Maker using our web services or using our REST connectors. So that's why you have the input document ID here. Then you have the edit button and the delete button. If we just click and edit, we'll open this screen again. Okay, let's save this here, and let's take a look here. Take a look into this settings for PHP. We have the file uploads that should be on. This is a mandatory setting that is also included and mentioned in the Process Maker installation steps. So this one should be already set. Then we have the upload max file size. By default will be 2 megs in PHP, and this one needs to be changed to the value you have, or at least to the value you have in your input document. In this case will be 100 megs. So you see, you won't be able to upload. Maybe your file controller will allow you to select a 100 megs file, but PHP won't let you upload this file because of this setting. So this one should be increased in your PHP file. And also you will have to increase the value for the post max size, but by default it's 8 megs, so you can just increase the value so PHP can let you upload these big files. Let's scroll down a little bit. Here's our management screen. We only have one input document in our case. Let's get back here, and let's get into this section, which is really important for us. And we have actually 2 ways to add this input document in our processes. The first way will be as a step in a task, and the second way will be a in a Dynaform using a file control. So these are the main two options to attach input documents in our processes. We have another options to upload files, like I said, using REST API connectors, but this is really different. We'll take a look into this later. So let's start with these two ways to add input documents. So let's take a look here. I'm going back to my process. I will save. Okay. Let me get rid of this screen. Okay. So I'm just going to add a couple of tasks here. Like this. I will end my process there. Let's change this one to input in step. Okay. And I'm just going to I'll create a quick Dynaform just to see how the steps work. I'll put form 1, save and open. I'm just going to add a submit button here, like that. Let's change its label here. Okay, there it is. That's my form. It only has one button. And now let's add this Dynaform as a step. So I'm going to right click on my first task. I'll say steps. And now just drag and drop my form as the first step. There it is. And then I'm going to drag my input document. As you can see, here's the list of the objects we can add to the task. So I have my input document here, and here's my first input document. So let's just grab it and drop it here. Okay, there it is. And if you take a look into this, for the Dynaform, I have the before and after triggers that I can add here. I have the same for my first and input document here. So it's another step. And then I have the default options I showed you first class, I guess, for the before assignment and before and after routing. So I have here step 1, it's form 1. Step 2 is my first input document, and then comes the assignment and the routing. So we also have the properties here for the input document. We could see if we can add a condition to show this input document and the option to edit the input document. So it will open the same screen to configure my input document here. So let's close this. Let's get back here. So I have my form and my first input document. Let's close this screen. And now I'm going to assign a user, assignment rules. I'll select my admin user so I can run the case right now. There it is. And let's just save this. So I'm going to add the same form to my second task. Oh, well, I believe it will be not necessary. Just assign the user. Okay, yeah, let's just assign the user like that. Okay, that will be enough. Now we can just run a case. So I'm going to click here on home. Let's run a case. And here's my input document example 1. Let's run this case. Okay, here's my form, the first form. It was just having a submit button, so I'll click on the submit button, and this will take me to the second step. And as you can see, this is the input document we just created. Take a look up here. We have the label, which is my first input document. It's an input document, and here's the short description. This is a legal copy of my documents. So take a look down here. We have a title of the input document. We have the version, we have who is the creator, some comments, and the create date. And up here, if you take a look into this is almost like a grid, and I have the option to attach a file from this link here. So if I click in the attach button, I'll just get a screen here. It will tell me what is the max file size from the input document settings, not coming from PHP, which is 100 megs. Then I have the option to pick or choose a file to upload to my case. Then I have the allowed extensions, which is JPG and PNG. Then I have the comments. So I can add some comments to my input or to my file that I'm attaching right now. I can just select a file. Let's try to use this PMP file. Okay, comments. This should not be uploaded because of the extension. Let's click on save. Oh, and let's see here, it says the file has not been attached because the extension is not allowed or because the content doesn't correspond. So let's say okay, my bad. Here's a PNG file. That's it. I'll try to save it, and there it is. This one was allowed because of the extension. So this is version 1, this is administrator admin, this is my command, and this is the date. So I can attach another file. Select file. Let me see if I have some images here. We can use one of these PNGs, JPG. Okay, let's use this one and save. So it's uploading the file. There it is. Oh, okay. Let's see. It says the uploaded file exceeds the upload max file size directive in php.ini. So this is what I was talking about. So my file should be, maybe my file is bigger than the files, than this setting we have in the training server. So that's why I can't upload this file. And yes, it is. I'm checking right now in my Explorer. And it's actually 3.18 megs. And this one is, yeah, the same size. So by default, PHP only allows 2 megs, so that's why I can't upload this file. But let's try to attach another one. I'll click here. There's a PNG. This one should be smaller. There it is. This one is okay. So I have these files here. And you can also take a look here. You can also download the files in case this is not the first task where I'm creating, I am uploading or creating these files. Maybe it's the second task or another task, and it's another user who's looking at this. So that user can actually download the files and take a look into it and say, oh, okay, this is the right version. Or maybe if it's not, they will just need to upload or update this by clicking on new version. So it will ask you to select a new file. I'll select the same one. I'll say this is another version, a newer one. Save it, and there it is. I have the file attached now. And take a look into this. I have version 2 for this file. Same creator, command, create date. Have the download option, new version, and I also have an additional option here, an additional button, which is version history, so I can check the history of these files. And if I click on it, I'll just see the version of the files. Version 1, version 2, creator, create date, and I also have the option to download this file, so I can take a look into what the difference are between these two versions. So this is really helpful to keep a track of the files that were uploaded in the output document and all the versions. I'll close this here. Let's get back here a moment. Let's scroll down a little bit, and yeah, this is for just okay. We're okay. Let's continue with this one. Just thought we were missing something. Okay. So once you are done with all the files you just uploaded, I can just or you can just click on this next step button here. And this is almost like a submit button that would take you to the next step, or in this case, since we don't have any other step in the task, it will just continue deriving the task to the next task to the next user. So I'll click on next. You see task 2 will go now to admin. I'll click on continue, and that will be it. So that's it. Here's my case. And that will be it for this input document. You would just attach the files and send them to the next user. So for some reason this user needs to work with those files. There are several ways you can get the files to be shown in your Dynaform, or you can also check from different sections. We'll take a look into that in a moment. Okay, so let's continue. Let's go back to my to the designer. Here's the designer. I'll go to the input document example 1. Here it is. I'll double click on it to open the designer. Okay, so let's do the following. Now I'm going to create another flow here. So I'm going to add a starting event like this. I will add a task, another task, and the end event like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is work with the input document, but this time will be attached or will be embedded in the Dynaform. So let's double click here and I'll say input in form, and that's it. Let's say like that. So let's create a new input document for this example. I could use the same one, but let's just get some practice here and create a new one. So I'm going to add my second input document. Let's do it with digital. But these are digital copies. Okay, enable versioning. Let's say no for this case. Destination path could be as well username, and let's say digital copy. Okay, allow extension. Let's see how this behaves. I'll make the input document allow any extension. Maximum, let's say to max, because that's what we can do right now. I'll click on save. Okay, that's my second input document. Let's close this one here, and let's go back to the designer, and now I'm going to create a new Dynaform. I'll create form 2. Now say this one like this is for the input document in a Dynaform example. Let's save and open. Okay, and now I'm going to work with this file control, which is the one here. I'll drag it here and I'll drop it just there. And take a look here. This will ask me again to create a variable, in this case the file variable. And let's try to click here on settings, and let's see here. As you can see, this is type file, and then I have the input document. So this file control must be related to an input document object. In this case, I can select one of my input documents. I can select my first input document or my second input document. Let's get the second one for this example. Okay, and we can also change this one. This could be digital copy. That will be the name of my variable. I'll just click on save, and that's it. I have my file control here. Let's change the label to digital copy. Okay, and I'm going to just add a submit button here. There it is. Let's change the label to submit, or it could be send file, like that, and that will be it. So I'm going to save this form. Let's close the Dynaform, and now I'm going to attach, or sorry, I'm going to assign a new step for form 2. I'll just drag it and drop it here. Take a look here. I can also add my second input document as another step. But for this example, I don't want to do this. I'm just going to add the form, which I know includes the file control with the input document related. So let's close this one. I'm going to assign the user. Will be the admin user. Okay. And for task 3, let's just add the same form 2. We'll see how that behaves. And also assign the user. There's the admin. And that's it. Okay, so let's go to the Home tab. Here we are. Let's go to New Case. Here's the input document example. This is for input in step, and this one's for input in form. So I'll get this one, and I'll create a case by double clicking on it. Okay, so this is my form. As you can see, we have the digital copy control label here for the file control. I have the allowed file extensions. I can attach anything here. So let's get this, and let's see, we have our downloads. Let's attach one of these PM tables we had from the other days. Okay, there it is. It's PMT extension. There's no problem with that. And when we are working with these file controls, the files will be attached to the case and stored in the database once we click on the submit button or we submit the form. So in this case, I'm going to click this submit button with the send file label. And that's it. The case just continued and is going to send the case to the next task for the next user. So the file has been attached. Now we'll just say continue here. And that's it. I have my cases to work on them later. And the files should have been attached to these cases and hence should have been stored in the database. So let's scroll a little bit down here, and this is what I was looking for. We have this option to access our input documents, and it could be done in different ways as well. So we have here, up here, the access and input documents, and this is once we are working on a case or once we open a case. But this option is based on process permissions. We're going to take a look into process permissions later. So right now we shouldn't be able to see the uploaded documents, but I can, of course, show you where these options are. So this will be the first option to see your input documents. Let's work with this one, case number 23 in my case, which is the one with the input document as a step. So if I open this one, let's assume I'm working on this case. I should have a Dynaform or something here, but take a look up here. We have this information button. This will be always available whenever we are working or whenever we are in a case. I can just click on it, and I have several options that I can check here. For instance, I have uploaded documents, but like I said, this is based on process permissions that we should set for the users in specific processes. So we're going to take a look into this later. But if I click here, you see I have my documents here. In this case, I'm using this admin user. So this one is, of course, is an admin. So like I said, we'll take a more detailed look into this later in the curve, right? We can add options to block actually this list, allow only some files. So we'll see how this goes later. So here I can see the files that were attached. So I have the second image. Take a look here. This is version 2. So we are only going to see the latest version of the file. We're not going to see previous versions. But if you need to see previous versions, then you need to do some changes to your processes and add another input document or the same input document as a step in another task, so the users can check actually the version history, just like we did when we were uploading the files. Of course, that's also managed with permissions. So, like I said, we would take a look into process permissions later. You can also see the other file. You can just get it from here. Let's try to download the file, and there it is. I have the chart, and I can download my files. So this is one way to do it. I'll close this here. Remember, we were working in a case, that's why we are saying this information. I can do the same for the other case, this one, 24. So if I just open it by double clicking on it, and I go up here to the information, take a look into uploaded documents, and there it is, there's the file. I can just download this one here, and there it goes. Okay, I'll open this task tree. Take a look here. I can see the file that was uploaded or that was attached to this file control in my form. And if I just click on this link in my form, we'll just download the file. So this is getting the file from the first task. This is still getting the related file here in my input document, like this. And if you click in the button, you can also select a different file. For instance, I'll use this data reporting tools PMP, like this, and this will just attach the file to the controller and to the case. So I can just click on send, and this will get the files like that. In this case, my case just ended because that was the last task, and that will be it. Okay, but let's also take a look into the document manager here in our cases list. So if you take a look into the left side menu, you'll see that almost at the bottom, just above the data reporting tools options, collapse this, we have the documents here, documents folder. And if I click on documents, take a look here, I have the folders. This is the digital paths and the digital file structure tree we have created, and this is going to be created with the values we added in the path for the input document. So take a look here. I have the admin folder. You remember we added username as the path, so I can just click here. That's why I have the admin, because I used the admin, that was the user log variable. And take a look here. I have also digital copy and legal documents. If I click on digital copy or digital document, let me click here, digital copy and digital or legal documents, I actually have the files that were uploaded to digital copy and the ones uploaded to legal documents. This one was for the input document as a step. So here are the files, same for digital copy. Here are the files. This is the one I attached from the first task, and this is the one I attached from the second task. So we have the name of the file, we have the version of the file, in this case versioning was disabled. We have when this was modified or uploaded. We have the owner of these input documents, in this case is the admin. We have the type, which is an input file, input, and this is the name of the file. We have the process where this was uploaded from. We also have the case number and the case title, which is case number, same case number by default, and the case status, in this case, is completed. It's different for this one. The files, the version, same columns, and in this case number 23 is still in to-do status. That means it's in someone's inbox, in this case the admin's inbox. Like this. In this case, I believe digital copy. Take a look into this. My files would be saved or will be stored in this path, and all the files will be here and will be mixed. So maybe we can just do a quick change into our input documents to do something more specific, like digital copy, and then add another subfolder or subdirectory and set the case number or the case UID. So we can just do that here. In the designer, let's go to the input document example. Input documents, let's change the first one. Let's say username, legal documents. And let's add another variable here. Could be, let's see, app number. like that. Let's save it. I'll do the same for this one. Add number like this and save. Okay, now let's try to create a new case from input documents. Let's use this one in forms. Let's get this file and send it there. I will continue with that case, add another one, and that's it. I'll do a new case for the input as a step. Made. Okay, let's go to the step. I'll get the files. Oh, sorry. Oh, select the file. And now another one. Do that. Next and continue. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I'm going to click here on documents again. I have admin. I have digital copy. Now I have the case. And there are the files for case 25 in digital copies for the admin user. Here I have case 26. These are the files for case 26 in the legal documents folder for the admin user. Of course, I have some other two files here in legal documents because of the first example, and also I have them here because of the first example. So you can just manage your input documents and make them create subfolders to have all your documents uploaded and organized by case, by maybe by department, maybe by group name, or whatever you need to build here. Back here. Okay, we'll take a look into this storage section. So when you're working with input documents, or even with any kind of file generated from Process Maker, the files will be physically stored in this following path. So you have the install directory, and then you have this structure, which is the installation for Process Maker. And you have the Process Maker folder, you have shared sites. This will be the name of your workspace. In my case, will be the one I have here will be Ronald Richter. That's the name of the workspace. Then you have the files folder, and then you have this kind of structure. Let's take a look into it. As you can see, we have 3x path the first time, then a second time, and a third time. And then you have the rest of the X. This is coming from the case UID. Case UIDs are 32 characters strings, unique identifiers. So in this case, for this path, it will get the first three characters from the case UID. It will create a subfolder inside the files directory. Then we get the next three characters from the UID, and we will create another subdirectory. Then the next three, like this, and then the other 23 characters. So this will complete the 32 characters unique UID for the case. Inside this will use the case document UID. This is the app underscore doc underscore UID. This is the unique UID that the system will assign to your files, and it will store in the database with this unique identifier. So the files will not be saved in Process Maker with the original name. Like in this case, I have this data reporting tools -1.pmp. That name will be gone. It will not save the file with this same name, but that name will be stored in the database in a content table. We have a content table which is used to store all names and labels in the system. So we would just store that information in the database to be queried and used later. So right now here in the system, these labels we are seeing here are not coming from the original file, are just coming from the database. And in the background or in the backside, these files have this kind of name, an ID stored in the database. Oh, sorry, in the file system. Okay, so let's take a look here. This is how the path will look. Take a look. By default, Process Makers should be installed in OPT. Process Maker. Then we have Shared, Sites, Workflow, which is the name of this workspace in this case. Then we have Files, and this is the case ID, the first 3 characters, then the next 3, then the next 3, and then the rest of the characters. Then you have the document UID for the case, which is this one generated. You have underscore and the version of the file. In this example, this should be the first version or version 1 of this file. It could be 2 or 3 or changed according to the version. And then the extension. This one will be the same coming from the original file. But once again, this ID will be stored in the database and it will be related to the label from the original file that will also be stored in the database. So if you look into your file system and you try to look the file using the original name, you probably will not be able to find it because you actually will not have the original file name in your system. So you must use your database queries, try to get the document UID, and then look for it in your file system. Let's scroll down a little bit. We'll take a look into these input documents in triggers later in the course because this is we still don't know how to build triggers and write the code, so we'll take a look into this later as well for these examples to send our input documents in emails where we can just retrieve our files from the database and send them through emails. Will be the same for this example, and let's get here. Let's get back here to our CMS or DMS, sorry. So take a look here to the description we have here. So we can actually manage our file from this document manager, not only from the cases. We can just select our files, we can move them, we can delete them. But in order to have this view enabled, remember we had a list of a lot of permissions that we can include in our roles. And in this case, in order to be able to delete these files or even see this document folder, we need to have these 2 permissions in our role, which is the PM folders view and the PM folders delete. So if we go back here, let's take a look here. Remember, I'm working with the admin, so admin has all the rights in his role. So I can just right-click on any file, say download. This will download the file. I can just right-click on this and say delete. Are you sure you want to delete one item? Yes, I'm sure. So there it is. Like that. So in this case, we are just removing the files from the system, and take a look at the toolbar we have here at the top. We have some options to create and manage our folders here, or our document manager. And remember again, these are just digital or logic. Sorry, these are just logic paths in the system. So I can just click here to go to the root. I can reload my list. I can add a new folder here, like manually created. It will create my folder. Okay, let's see, where's my folder? I don't know where I created. Let's do it again. Manual. Okay, Oh, there is I didn't refresh my folders. There's admin. Oh, let's collapse this one. I have manual. Good, let's get rid of this one. I can just select it and click on it. Let's see here. Delete my folder. There it is. And I can add, if I have this manually created folder, I can just use the same path in my input document to add or attach files to cases and to be stored in this logic path here. Okay, I can also rename this one. I can also let's rename it to something like additional files. That I can copy this folder, just select the other path where I want to copy this, like here. Take a look to the admin. I have my additional files here, additional files. You can also move it to, let's say, I'm already in the root. Let's move it to legal documents. Let's see, there it is. That. Let's get here. And I can also grab my files and move them to another folder. Like this. Let's try to refresh this one. Let's see what happened. Okay, let me see what's going on. Well, like I said a moment ago, we need process permissions to be able to modify this document. So since we haven't looked into the process permissions yet, we'll have to take a look into this again later. So we'll leave it there and we'll get back here once we have the process permissions set. Okay, so this is the way you can just manage your files in the document management. You also have the option to download these files, not only from right clicking on the file, and you can also upload new files. We can, for instance, get one file here. Let's see this. Because this one's really small. Save it, and there it is. You can just attach your own files here. And take a look at the information we have here. This is not related case. So this means that in the file system, this will not be included as we've seen. Just like here, we were looking at the paths. It would not be this way. It would just go to sites, the workspace name, files, and then we will have an input folder. And we also have just in the files root, we have another folder for the output documents, and we also have directly uploaded files just there in the root of the files folder. So this one will go there just to files. It will not have all this structure for the case UID. Okay, and that's it for the input documents. We'll also take a look. Let's go back. Here we'll also take a look later into the multiple file uploader. This is just for the file control. So we'll be getting back to these examples later today. Okay, so I'm going to close this one. Let's go back to the curves. Here it is. Let's go to the next link here, which is output documents. Okay, here's the overview. Great. So Process Maker offers an option to generate documents, PDF documents or doc documents based or including information from cases or from any other source that could be retrieved within a Process Maker process. So you can just get information from an external database, from a local database, from external connection, and just send all that data and to be printed in a PDF file. So these are also objects that we need to create in our processes. We're going to take a look into this. Let's go back to the designer. And Process Maker offers two engines to create output documents, which are the TC-PDF library and the HTML to PDF library. So depending on the case, you should decide which engine you will use. So let's create a new process here for this sample. I'll add the title. This will be output document sample 1. I'll click on create. Here it is. And here in the main toolbar, you'll find this output document button. Again, you can just click here to see this screen to manage all your output documents, or you can just click on this create button that will give you the screen to create your output document. Let's get back here. Let's say create. Okay, and let's take a look into this screen here. Let's take a look into this field. This is the title. Let's add a title. It could be my first output document, like that. And the file name generated. Let's take a look here. Let's see. Sorry. Let's get here. Okay, and this is the name that we're going to use for our documents that are going to be generated from the system. You can also include variables, so it could add a specific name like the username, the case number, or the case title. You can just add it here by clicking on this button. You will have a list of all the global variables and the system variables. In this case, I have all this. So you can just select anyone, like the app number, click on the insert variable button, and this will include the variable. You can also concatenate this by adding a dot, just like in PHP, and just add another name. It could be generated like that, and that will be it. You can add a short description like this are my generated documents, like this. And if you take a look into the next field, which is report generator, you'll see you have two options, and these are the engines the Process Maker have for the PDF and doc generated files. So by default will be TC-PDF, and you can also select HTML to PDF. But take a look here. This is the old version. Depending on how the file will be generated, or the file size, or depending on how many pages the generated file will have, you will have to pick the right choice here. TC-PDF is the better option, is the best option for large documents, and HTML to PDF engine is the best option for really small documents, like under 9 pages or with not too much data in the output documents. Of course, since this is an old version, it would not be the right choice to pick if you're going to work or if you are wanting to work with large documents in the future. We also have the media field, which will be the page size. Take a look into here. We have all the standards, the page standards and sizes here. We can choose one of these, for instance, letter. We also have the orientation, which will be portrait or landscape. That's up to what you need in your documents. You also have the margin. You can just customize the margin to whatever you need here. Do that. Then you have the option to pick what output document will be generated, and we have, like I said, two options. Could be a doc file or could be a PDF file. But you can also pick both, so it will generate both versions of the document. Then you have the PDF security option, which by default is disabled, and if you enable it, this will ask you to type in a password to open the file and another password for the owner, who will be able to define how this generated document can be used. For instance, you can give specific permissions for your output document and tell the users that will be allowed to print the print the document, or modify if it's a doc file, if they will be able to copy the content from the PDF, or if you will actually be able to get the form generated as a document. You can just add a password, or you can just leave this as disabled. There shouldn't be any problem. Let's disable this here. Then you can also enable the versioning for this document. That means if you generate the document more than one time, it would just add the right version at the end of the file. If you remember, we saw in the input documents the structure of the file, which was a document UID followed by the version and the extension. This will be the same case for output documents. It would just add the version of the file or of the generated file at the end of the name for these files. You can also define the destination path, which is also a logic path stored in the database. You can also add variables here, like we could say, let's say something like this. We'll add generated files slash, let's do something. Let's add the username. Let's say generated files, and also the case number. Here it is, app number, generated files, app number, and the slash. Okay, so that will be the path. You can also add tags to your output document, so this could be helpful when you're searching your files from the document manager. You can add variables if you need as a tag, like username, like that. And then you have the last option, which is by clicking on the generated file link, you can download the file or you can open the file. Of course, this also depends on the configuration you have in your browser. So if your browser is set to always download the files, this will just download the file, even if you have the open the file option selected. Let's click here. Let's leave it on download the file. So I have my document created here, my output document, and I'll just save it here. Okay. So this is just this was just the screen to create your output document. That means this is defining how the output document will be created, and the name that will be saved with, and the path will be stored in the database. So take a look into this list to manage your output documents. You have the Show ID button. In this case, this is also useful to have it here because you can use this UID in triggers to generate documents directly from the code. Just at the input documents, we had two options: one for attaching files within a Dynaform, and one to add the input document as a step. In this case, you cannot generate output documents directly from a Dynaform, but you can do it using a trigger. But we'll take a look into that as well later in the course. But by the moment, you can also create output documents, setting these output documents as a step in your tasks from a process. So that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to just add the output document as a step, and we're going to see how this document gets generated. Let's also take a look here. We have the edit option, which will open this settings, which is created. Cancel. Then we have the Open Editor button, and this is where we have this tiny MCE editor here, where you can just design your output document. This is an HTML editor, and it will give you the option to get all the content from all these tools up here. And we have some important options here. So you can just generate your document, like this is my first output document, like that. And that will be it. We will start with this first sample here. Let's get this like that. I'll click on save, and that will be it. That's my first output document. You can, of course, delete your output document. I'll say no. And now let's try to run a case. So this is my process. Let's add a quick task like that. One task will be enough for this example. Let's put something like simple output document, like that. Let's assign a step here. I don't have any Dynaform, but I'm going to add the output document as a step. So I'm going to drag my first output document here. I'll just drop it there. And that will be it. Let's assign a user. Assignment rules. Let's look for the admin user. Okay, let's save this change. And then let's run a case. I'll go to the Home tab. I'll click on New Case. And we have here the output document example 1. This is task simple output document. I'll double click on it. And there it is. So my output document was generated with the output document that was assigned to the task as a step. And we have the information from this output document. Here's the title, my first output document, the description. These are my generated documents, the create date. And take a look here. We have both versions of the file created because we selected both in the settings for this output document. So we have the doc file. If we click on the open button, this will just download my generated document. And I can just open it here. Take a look. This is my first output document. This. And we also have the PDF version. By clicking it, we'll just download PDF, and it will open the PDF here. So this is a really quick sample on what we just did with the output document. Let's get back here. Yeah, this is information for the fields. Let's take a look here. Okay. Okay, so let's take a look here. This is the important part, like editing our templates. And for this, we're going to go back to our designer, to our HTML editor for the output document. And let's take a look to these two options at the top, which are the most important in this output documents editor. Okay, so we are here, open editor. And take a look at the top left corner of the editor. We have this upload file button, and we also have this one here, which is PM variable picker. And we'll start with this one, the PM variable picker. I'll click on it. And if you take a look here, you'll see a list of all the system variables in this case for this process. And we can also see a list of all the global variables that were created for your process. So you can just pick one of these and include them in the output document. So you can have a document based on information coming from the case and not just typed in information, right? Like in this case, we just added an example. We can add any information you want from this variables list. So for instance, I'm going to click on this user logged variable, and it will add the variable to my output document. Take a look here. I just added double add user underscore logged. That will get the user log UID. So I can do something like this. Let me show you what I'm going to type here. I'll include something like user ID, and I'll add a column. space and double add user logged. I will add another space. Now we'll pick another variable. Let's say username. I'll say username column like that. Let's add case number. Click on the variables picker. There's the app number. That's the case number. Let's see what else we have here. We can also pick could be like workspace. This one's for the workspace. Don't worry about these variables. We'll take a look into each one of these variables when we get into the trigger designer. And let's see what we get with this. So I'm going to save my design, my template. I'll close this screen. Now I'll go back to the home tab and run the new case. So let's click here on home. Let's go to the new case option. And here I'm going to pick my output document example 1. I'll double click on it to create a new case. And take a look here, there's a new document generated. Let's click on File Doc option or PDF. I'll pick PDF. I'll open the PDF. And there you go. Take a look here. We have the user UID. This is the UID for the admin user. Take a look to username. There's the username admin. Case number is 28. My workspace is my name, Ronald Richter, and there's the text we added a moment ago. So now my output document is including variables from in this case from the system variables. Could be including information from the case variables. And let's take a look into that. So there's another important detail here. Take a look into all the values that are coming from variables. As you can see, it's using double quotation. So it doesn't look very fine. So we can get rid of this double quotation here from the values. Let's close this one and let's go back to our editor. Let's go back to the designer. Let's open the output document. Let's go back to the output document and open the editor. So in this case, this is happening because we're using this double add referrer for the variables. That means that Process Maker will parse these variables as strings, and since these are strings, it will add the double quotation marks to all these values. So it doesn't look very fine or doesn't look very friendly or very formal for our documents to include double quotation to all the values or all the strings. So in order to get rid of those, we're going to just change the way we are making a reference to these system variables in this case. So instead of using double add, I would just use add and hashtag, and I would just get the value and it would not parse it as a string. So that means it would not include the double quotation. It would just get the value and it would just put it in here in the output document. So I'll save this. Let's close this. Let's go to the home tab. Let's create a new case. I'll open the PDF. Here it is. And take a look now, the double quotation marks are gone. And actually the form looks, or the PDF looks better. Okay. Let's now try to add some global variables for this process. So let's go back to the process. And I'm going to create a quick short Dynaform. Let's put form 1. I'll click on Save and Open. And let's add a couple of fields like a text box. And let's say text bar 1. Let's say this will be for name. It could be first name. Let's add another one. This could be for last name. And let's add a text area. And this will be for comments. Okay. I'm going to load some information into this controls using the SQL field. Like we're going to say select user first name from users table, where user UID equals to, and I'll say user logged, like this. I'll copy this one here. Last name will be the same, but this time I'm going to change the field here. It won't be user first name, will be user last name, and let's just save it. Let's take a look into the preview. Let's see if the values are coming. Okay, there they are. That's it. I'll close this and I'll add a submit button. Submit, like that. Let's save this and let's close the Dynaform. So I'm going to go back to my output document. I'll open the editor. We have user ID, the username, the case number. Now let's add more information here, like user full name, this, and let's add some variables. In this case, if you take a look here, I have a larger list of variables now. I have all variables up here in the filters. I can set only system variables, or process variables, or grid variables. In this case, I don't have any grid, so I'm going to just pick process variables, and I'll use text bar 1. This one was for the name, for the first name. I'll add a space here, and now I'll pick process variables, and now I'm going to pick this one, text bar 2, which was for the last name. Okay, comments here, and let's add the comments variable, and that one was the text bar 1, like that. And the last change we're going to do here is the second add, and replace it with a hashtag, like that. Let's save this. There it is, and now let's try to run. Oh, before running a new case, we need to add the Dynaform as a step in the task. So let's right click on the task. Let's go to steps, and we currently have the output document, and we're going to just drag the form and try to drop it just above the output document. So if you take a look there, I'm just adding the form. I'll just drop it, and there's my form as the first step. The second step will be the output document. And let's see how this works. So let's close this, let's save the process, and let's go back to home. Let's go to new case and create a new case. Output document example 1. Here it is. I have my information here, administrator, admin. These are not read-only fields, so I can just change the values, and the values typed here or filled in here will go to the output document. So here's my comment. Let's add something like, this is a comment field coming from the Dynaform, and add it to this output document. Okay, let's say submit, and there it is. My document was generated. Let's open the PDF. Just click on the PDF, and there you go. So you have the user UID, which is a system variable, the username, which was coming from a system variable as well. Then we have this administrator admin, which is in my case, or in my user's case, the first name and the last name coming from this user that was logged in, and this is coming actually from the Dynaform. We use the queries to fill in this data in the Dynaform, and then this was sent to the output document. We also have the case number, which is the system variable, the workspace. This is the content I added manually in the HTML editor, and this is the comment at the end. coming from the text area field, and there's the content. You can just add any content you need from the either from global variables or from system variables. Let's close this one. Let's go back here. Let's go back to the designer and let's open the process. And let's go here back to the output document. Let's open the editor. Okay, so let's get back here and let me get back here. Yeah, this is the important option here. Okay, so since this is a tiny MCE editor, this will actually recognize all the key bindings you can use, like Control C, like Control Z, like Control X, just to modify your data. You can also add a new line without adding a blank space by doing a Shift Enter here. That will add just a new line. It would not add a break line, because when you use the Enter key and you add a new row, this will add a p tag or a paragraph tag in your HTML code. That means you might have too much space between each row, and maybe that's not what you need. So in order to don't do that like this, like just pressing enter and adding more content, you can just press Shift Enter to enter a new line or a new row, and this would not add the paragraph tag in your HTML code. So maybe this will be better for your output document design. And you can also take a look here to the first button. You remember we said we had two very important options here. The first one was the variables, and the second one will be the upload file button here. If you click on it, this will give you the option to upload a customized template coming from an HTML file or an HTML file. So you can just build your own template in any text editor. For instance, we can use this one. Let's take a look here. Let's change this to HTML. You can just create, let me get this. You can just create any content here, like a p tag, like this, and add like that. You can also add a table like that. Let's add something really simple like this. Okay, I'm gonna save this file. Let's do something like save it in my desktop. Will be template. Okay, alright, let's add this here. Okay, so I can just select my template, custom template, and just 1 second before uploading all this, I'm gonna save this. Okay, so here's my template. Upload the file, and there it is. There's my content coming from an external template. I can just build my templates in another HTML editor, and then just save the file and upload it here using this option. So this is a good choice when you are using, or when you need more flexibility on the HTML design for your output document. So you can just use your preferred tool to build your HTML, and then just upload the template here in the output document editor. You also have some tools here, some basic tools to do your own template here in the designer, like the alignment, like the uh, font weight. You have font types here. You can just add all you need from here. You can also add tables. And let's take a look here. If you take a look in the toolbar, on the right side, you have this HTML button. If you click on it, this will open the HTML code for your template, so you can just modify if you feel more comfortable from modifying the code directly from the template. You can just modify your code here. Let's take a look at this. I'm going to remove all this. Now I'll get back to my previous variables like this. And let's go to the HTML code. Take a look. Here's the HTML code. Like I said, remember whenever you add a row by pressing the Enter key on the keyboard, it will add a new row, but it will also add the content in a new paragraph or p tag in the HTML. So maybe that's not what you need, and that's why I was talking about adding only one p tag and then using Shift and Enter to use these break lines and add just a new line, and not a blank line in between the content. So this is how the template will be generated. Here's another one empty because of that new row. We can just remove that from here, and we can just click on Update, and this will update your template. Okay, so let's get back here. Okay, so take a look into this part. This is what we were talking about a moment ago. Whenever you use a variable name to be inserted in your output document, if you use add a hashtag, this will get your value from the variable that was stored in the database. It would just use the value stored, and it would not apply any change. Like when you use double add, in this case, the variable name will be enclosed by double quotation marks. Maybe that's not what you need because it would add different information in your content. So what if you need to use double quotation to make reference to a variable and use this way to call the variable? And what if your variable content actually is using double quotation inside the value? So in this case, just as we did for the other samples we saw the other days in the course, you need to use an escape character. In this case, the escape character will have to be the backslash, so that way you can escape the double quotation, and it will just be included in the content. Whenever you're working in the output document, remember what we were talking about the variables. When you submit a case, not only the variable that you created from the variables manager is stored. Remember that there's an additional variable for each control that is created using the suffix underscore label to store the value of the selected option in cases like the drop down, like the suggest fields or check groups or radio groups. So in this case, if you need to add an option selected from a drop down in your output document, you are not going to select only the variable name, and that will be it. You need to select the variable name and add underscore label. So if you select this kind of variable, it would just get the ID or the key coming from the dropdown or the suggest field. But if you use this one with the underscore label suffix, you will be able to get the selected option, actually the label that was displayed in the Dynaform. Let's take a look into that here. So let's save this for a moment. Let's go back to our Dynaform. Let's edit this. And let's add a drop down here at the end, or yeah, here. And let's say save. Let's use the same sample we had for country. This. And let's add a SQL query. So this will be select ICUID IC name from ISO country, like that. Let's see if this is working. In the preview, yeah, it is. So let's say submit. Oh, sorry, let's close this one and go back to the designer. Let's open the output document. Oh, let's see what this. Seems like it has been cached. Okay, let's see what's up with that. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to refresh my screen. Yeah. There. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is open it's at the selected country from the drop down. Let's say here, just below the workspace, and let's say country ID, and also country name, like that. And for this, I'm going to use country ID. This will be drop down 1. There it goes. And for country name, okay, drop down 1 as well. Like that. Let's change the second ad for the hashtag. But this is what we're going to do. For the country ID, I'm just going to leave drop down bar 001. And for country name, I'll add drop down 1. We're going to add underscore label. Like that. Let's save this. And let's run a new case. I'll go to the Home tab. Go to New Case. Let's go to Output Document Example 1. And let's take a look. I have the user. We can also change this to whatever we need, like Ronald as my name. And I'm going to use here any country. Let's say this one. And let's say Submit. I'll open the PDF. And there you go. Take a look here. We have the country ID coming from the drop-down variable name. And in this case, we were using the drop-down variable and adding the suffix underscore label to get the label of the selected option. And there are the other variables, right? Of course, this is coming from the Dynaform, so it could be whatever we type in. Let's go back a little bit here. Let's take a look. Well, this is very important, but we will have to get back here again once we get access to the triggers, or once we start learning about triggers. Because this is when you use text areas. What if you have break lines in your text area and you just add the variable into your output document? So the TinyMC editor is going to parse the text area content just as a single string, so it will not include the break lines. So in order to keep your break lines, you need a previous trigger where you need to use the PHP function new line to break lines. This will change all the content using tags, using break line tags included in your text area string, and that will keep the break lines in the output document. Let's get down here. These are just formatting your output document. Like I said, we have a lot of options in the TinyMC editor, like the letter weight, like bold, italics, underlined. We have the alignment. We also have the font size, the font type. We have the basic edition options like cut, copy, and paste. We have the options to add ordered list elements in your HTML code or unordered lists. Tags, you can just add these tags and just edit them manually from the HTML code. You also have the indent and the outdent. You also can add quotes. You can also redo and undo changes by either using these buttons or using the key bindings like Ctrl Z and Ctrl Y to undo and redo. You can also add links and images to your output documents. You can select a specific font color. You can highlight. You can edit the style, the CSS style, and many other options like grids, and also include grid variables in your output documents. Let's take a look to the next sample where we are editing the HTML code and inserting images to your output document. So for this, you can just add. We have this example here, sample URL. You can grab it from the documentation. Just in case, I'm going to paste it here in the shared notepad. Okay, there it is. And if this image has public access, meaning it's an image in the web accessible from anywhere, you can just add it into your output document, and this will be added as an image into the design. So let's take a look here, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to use, oh sorry, let's go back here. This is the p tag we are going to use. So let's get back here to the designer. Let's open the output document editor, and I'm going to add it here at top. Oh sorry, I'll use the HTML editor. Here's the body, and let's add it right there. Let's update. You can take a look. There's the output document with the image, and if we run a case, okay, there it is. It's just included in the output document. Let's get back here. Let's continue. Let's see the other examples. Okay, this is a really cool example. This will be for adding form fields into your output document, and you can use this sample we have here. We can just add a form tag in your HTML editor, and this would just recognize all the fields you have in the form. So you can do something like just come here. Let's do something here. Let's open the editor. I'm going to save a copy of all this here so we don't lose that. Okay, we can also paste it here. Okay, get back here. Let's use this one here. I'll add this in the body tag. There it is. Now I'm going to update and take a look. We have the form fields in our output document. I'll save this, and I'll just create a new case. And there you go. So you have this form fields in your PDF output document like that. Let's take a look down here. And for this other examples, like I said before, we'll need to learn first about triggers on how to add this kind of fields in our output documents. For instance, if you need to add a checkbox and define if the checkbox will be checked or unchecked, you need a before trigger to see what will be the value of this checkbox in your system. And once you get that, you can use a condition just to check your checkbox or just remove the check mark. Let's take a look at the next example. Okay, we also have options to insert page breaks in your output documents, but this is if we take a look here, this is only feature supported right now by the HTML to PDF engine. So this will add a custom comment that you can include in your document, and this would add a page break, and it will move all the content following the new page comment to the next page in your generated document. And just take a look into this. Let's get back here. For this, I'm going to create a new output document. This will be example 2, for instance. Oh, sorry. Like that. File name generated, break lines. Okay. Let's use HTML to PDF. Both disabled, yeah. Just PDF for the examples, and let's see how this behaves. This is example 2. Let's add a new one here. A new start event, task, and the end event. This will be HTML to PDF. Let's add a step. This is going to be my second output document, and let's assign the user like that, and that's it. Let's now run a new case. Say new case. Here it is, output document example 1, HTML to PDF. Let's double click on this case or in this process. There it is. Let's open the PDF. And oh yeah, I forgot to add the content to the output document, right? Let's go back to the designer, output documents, open editor, and let's just add the break line tag and the p tags for the example. This, sorry, here, like that. Let's save this there, and let's generate a new case or a new file. There we go. So this is page 1, and now the custom comment for HTML PDF library will move the content to the next page. So that's a way to add page breaks. Okay, remember that this is only working, or this is only coming from HTML to PDF library. So if you set this custom comment and you use TCPDF to generate your documents, these tags will just be ignored, so it would not add the page breaks. Okay, you can also add headers and footers using the HTML to PDF library. Again, these are just custom comments for this library, so you can just get this information in your design. Let's add it here. I'm going to add it like this, and let's also add the footer here. That. Let's update. I'll save this. Let's generate a new case. There it is. There's the header, there's page 1, there's the footer, there's the header again, page 2, and the footer. So this is how you can add more content into your output document. Let's take a look into this example. This will also add some additional information that you can include in your header or in your footer, depending on the case. And it could give you the number of the current page, the total number of pages. It could give you the URL where the file is located. It could give you the file size, the timestamp, You can just add all this information into your output document. For instance, we have this template down here. Let's take a look how this will work. Let's open the editor and the HTML. I'm going to add this here. Just update it, and let's create a new case. Oh, I didn't save something. Let's see. Yeah. Let's create a new one. Let's close this one here. Okay, let's open the file. This is it. And there you go. There's the information. So we have the timestamp, we have the page, total pages included here. Like that. So you can customize your footers or your headers or all the content in your output documents. Let's get back here. Let's see. This is another feature for the output documents, how you can include grids into your output documents, and this is very useful when you're working with grids in your Dynaform. So let's take a quick look into an example here. So let's well, before starting, let's take a look into how the structure of these grids work. So take a look here. Whenever you're trying to insert a grid inside your output documents or to your HTML template, take a look. You will be seeing something like this kind of tag. So it's also a custom tag coming from the process maker core to build these grids. So it will get this tag. It will include the name of the grid enclosed by these comments. And take a look here. This is the open tag for the grid. And whenever you insert the grid, it will be like this. Insert the grid with this open tag here. And this one, this was with greater than, and this is with less than. It will be to close the grid there. And between these comments tag here, you have all the fields in the grid. That will mean all the columns you have in your grid. So let's take a look down here. The variable has been added here. This is where it starts. Here we have the columns that will get the values for each row. And just for a little format, here we're adding new rows for each row and new columns for each column. So these tags will just read the entire grid and add the values from the fields row by row. That means it will add all the content in your grid. So in order to give some format, you can just add the table row tags and the table data tags here. So let's take a look into this. So let's also take a look here. Take a look that they are adding in this example a header for the table, and it's adding a label or a table header for each column coming from the grid. Sorry. So there's one for date that will belong to this date label at the same level or in the same column. Same for type, same for description, and same for amount. So we can actually create a grid to work with, that could work with this one here, this example. So let's copy this. I'll get here. Let's create a new one. There will be. Let's use grids in output document like this. grid. Okay, let's open the editor, open the HTML code, and I'm going to paste this right here, like that. Okay, let's remember these names. We have expenses for grade variable. Okay, we're going to see it from the documentation. Take a look here. This is just building the table. It's adding the headers here, and each column from the grid down here. So this could be manually designed, but the important part here are the commands, the custom commands here, which are these ones, which will include the name of the grid variable, and this is the way we will make the reference to open and to close the tag. Okay, so let's save this. I'll save this as well. Let's close this. Let's add a new starting event. Let's add this task and close this one. And let's do the following. That will be grids. Okay. Let's create a quick, simple Dynaform. Form 2. Like that. Let's add a grid. And the name of the grid will be expenses grid variable. Like that. Let's save. And we're going to add 4 text boxes for each field in this example. Like that. Let's get back here, and first one is date label. Oh yeah, I'm just going to do then something like this. Let's add a date field. Okay, date field like that. This will be date. Okay. The next one will be type. Date type. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm changing the labels. Date label. Let's use date label. This will be type. This will be description. And this will be amount. Okay. Let's add the submit button. Okay. And now we should be ready to run the new case. Sorry, let's save this here. Yes, now we had this here, and let's add the steps. Let's add form 2. This is the one with the grid, and let's add these grids in output document there as a second step. Let's close this and let's assign the admin user. Yeah, just like that. Okay. And now let's go to run a new case. Let's see how this behaves. Let's run a new case here. I'll close this one and this one here. And here's the grid. So I'm going to type some data in. I'll get this. This will be test, test, and test. Let's add a new row, another value. Test 2, test 2, test 2. Let's submit this form. Let's open the PDF and see. Let's see how this went. Okay, so as you can see, we are just getting the data from the grid. So if we go back to the designer and see the structure of the HTML. Let's open the editor, HTML, and take a look here. The tags will just say that this will be a grid and it must go row by row getting the data from the grid. So we just need to add the names of the columns here or the fields in the grid. And then just you can add some format by adding a new row for each one of these rows and adding a new table column for each one of these columns. That way you have something like this, and it would just go row by row into the entire grid. Okay, I'll save this. Let's go back here, and then we have some other examples in order to get data. But for this, we will have to as well use our triggers editor, so will not be possible to do it right now, but we'll do it later in the course. So this is a very important part. This is using non-US ASCII characters in output documents. So, well, we're not going to do this right now because we don't have access to the server, but this is important for you if you want to do it in your local installations. So whenever you need to add special characters that are non-US ASCII into your output documents, you will not be able to do it. It will be just translated to US characters. So if you want to include special characters like these ones here, you will have to follow these instructions. And for instance, you have this first step, which is download this file. Let me open this link here. This will download this font file, this Arial Universal. And you can just copy this file or upload it into your server to this path, the Process Maker installation path, which most of the times is OPT Process Maker. Then go to Gulliver, third party, the HTML to PS, PDF fonts. And once you are in this folder, you'll find one folder for each library for the PDF generator engine. So you can just copy the font in all of these folders, which will be TTPDF and HTML to PDF. And you go to fonts and just copy the files there. So this will allow you to print output documents including this kind of characters or Poland characters or any other kind of characters you might need to use. So take a look here. This is how your output documents would look if you are using non-US ASCII characters, like this. Okay, so we're going to stop here with the output documents. Most of the other examples will need to use a trigger, so that's where we are going to stop, and we should get back or build more complex output documents once we have learned about how triggers work. So I'll close this part here. Let me close this one here and here. Let's get back here. And now let's take a look into the multiple input document uploader. Let's open this link here. Okay, so Process Maker offers another option to replace the current or the actual input document object we have. Actually, the one we have seen earlier today, that's the one we're going to replace using this multiple file input document uploader. So this is a feature that comes with the enterprise subscription. It's also controlled by an enterprise license, so it can be found under this section under admin. Then you go to plugins, you go to enterprise manager. Let me close this here, and you have the PM input document uploader. So let's please go to this page and enable the plugin. Okay, so there it is. There's the plugin. It's enabled. And now let's do a quick. Let's take a quick look here. You'll see that when we run the case, it will actually give us a different interface for our input documents assigned as a step. So let's take a look here. We can maybe use the first one we have here for the examples with the input documents. So if we go to new case, let's go to input document. This one, input document example 1, input in step. I'll double click on it, create a new case. I'll submit this form and take a look into this screen. This is a very different interface coming from the this time from the multiple input document uploader plugin. So we also have the title, we have the short description, the allowed extension files extension, sorry, the max size for the files, and this is what makes the big difference here. We have the chance to pick several files. This is, remember, it was on the images. Let's choose PNG, PNG, PNG. Okay, let's pick them and let's see what happened here. Okay, it says file type not allowed, file type not allowed, and file type not allowed. Let's see. I'm going to. Okay, let's see what happened here. I'll have to take a look into why it's not allowing this, and this is because maybe I did something wrong in my input document settings. It was first Dynaform, I think. Okay, let's do something. Let's try to just allow anything for the example. So save. Okay, here let's try to create a new case. Okay, let's try again, like this, this, and this, like that. Okay, there it is. So there are my files. This time I'm allowed. And let's take a look here. This is a very more efficient interface. You can also add a comment for every file here, for each file. Like this is a circle, and this is an ASCII table. This is a screenshot. Okay. So we also have the version, the creator, create date, same fields we had in the regular input document step, and we can just start uploading the files one by one, like that, or you can just upload all. You can select all from here. Like that, I just uploaded all the files. As you can see, the files were already uploaded into the server. So in this case, you don't need to submit this form in order to upload the files, right? You just need to click down, upload each file, and then you can just upload all the files. Of course, you can also download the files. You can delete the files one by one, or just select the files and delete them. Delete selected files, or select all and delete the files. Let's delete them. Okay. Let's upload some files again, like this, like that. You can cancel all the files. Let's get some other files. There you go. Let's upload all of them. Okay. And you can also have this new versions of the files. So you can just pick one of these and say new version, upload. There it is. There's a new file. We also have the version history coming from this multiple input document uploader. So you can just click here and you'll see the history. So as you can see, this is like a very improved version of the input document step. This is the multiple input document step. Could be things faster. So you don't have to upload files one by one, and you can just get a bunch of files and then just select which ones you need to upload and upload them one by one or all of them. Or you can also remove all the files. So the files will be uploaded just like the other input documents, will be related to the input document, will be stored using the same structure and also using the file, the logic files path in the document manager. Let's close. Let me close this here. And let's get back here to the Documents Manager. We were uploading and generating a lot of files. Let's see what happened here. Take a look here where we were uploading break lines in the root folder. These are the PDF documents we were generating with the output document object. We also have the admin. We have here generated files. We have the cases that we created. So we can just pick one of these and there's the generated file. 27, the number of the case. Let's see what's this about. There we go. This is my first input document, and the other ones that generated. Let's see what's this about. There it is, right? So this is the form, and like that. And the one we just added. Let's see. Should be additional files. I don't remember. Legal documents. Yeah, this is case 41. Here are the files we just uploaded with the multiple file uploaded. Like that. Okay, so this is what we can have here with the multiple input document uploader. This. Oh, we didn't saw this. Let me just show you really quick this part. Let's run a new case. Let's input in step. Let's create one of these. Click on submit. Let's pick some pictures. Let's get some pictures or images here. Let's upload the file. And once the file has been uploaded, you can just click on the image and see a preview of this file. Like this, like this. Just click on it, and like that. If there are more images, you'll be able to navigate between the images. So it also offers the option to preview your images that are being uploaded to your cases. And that will be it with the multiple file uploader plugin. Let's get rid of this, and now we are ready to start the lab. So let's please work in the lab. This one here, the lab input and output documents, and then we'll take a look into the quiz. So I'll get back in around 15 minutes to see how it goes, and then we'll move over. Okay, so let's continue with the quiz now, and let's take a quick look into the questions. So we have the first one, which says output documents can be generated as, and we have several options here, which are doc files, XLS files, PDF files, TXT files, and CSV. So right options will be doc and PDF. Then we have it's not possible to set an input document file size to unlimited. And well, actually it is possible, so this will be false. Remember that we have to set 0 to set the file size as unlimited. It's possible to reference system and case variables in output documents templates. Yes, we can use the variables picker within the TinyMCE editor for the output documents, so this will be true. An output document template can include case variables. That one's correct. Database queries. No, that's incorrect. System variables. Custom HTML code. Custom PHP code. Images. And that will be it. Then we have, while creating a new input document, it's possible to select one or more and set allow file extensions. Enable file versioning, download a sample document, and define a maximum file size. So let's pick these three, and let's finish the attempt. Submit all and finish. That's it. And let's finish the review. Okay. Okay, let's close this one here. I'm going to close this one here as well. Okay, let's continue with the course. Now we're going to check the next point, which is point number 7, and that's JavaScript in Dynaforms. So let's take a look into the first one here, which is the JavaScript in Dynaforms. I'll open this one here. And well, actually, JavaScript code can be added into our Dynaforms in Process Maker to give or customize the behavior of the controls we have in our forms. So you can add additional functionality and improve the behavior of the controls in your form. You can customize, change styles, fill different controls in the Dynaform. And the Process Maker also offers a number of methods that will help you improve your Dynaforms. So before adding JavaScript to your Dynaforms, we will have to take a look into this quick documentation about best practices, about what you can do or don't do within Process Maker and when you're working with JavaScript. So let's take a quick look here, especially to this part where we have the helpers. So Process Maker has built some or includes some built-in helpers for JavaScript code that will try to keep the consistency of the values and fields and the Dynaform structure when you use them. So it's actually a best practice to use the helpers and not use native JavaScript or jQuery code in your Dynaforms. Process Maker have built these kind of helpers here for control elements like the set value, like the set text, set label. You also have some other control methods like get value, get text, get label, get control. We're going to take a look into these helpers and methods just in a moment. We also have our event helpers here, like the set on change, set on submit, or on show row dialog, or the save form methods that will work in specific controls in your forms, or even in the same form like the save form. So this is a list of very common mistakes that happen when you're working with JavaScript in your forms. So as was mentioned before, the idea of using these helpers is to maintain or keep the integrity between the values and the structure of the Dynaform in the forms. So it is not recommended or a great idea to actually access the DOM objects in your Dynaform by using, native JavaScript code like document get element by ID and then the control identifier, or by doing this kind of methods using jQuery to get the value from a control, like using val. This is native jQuery, and this is the way to get the DOM element from the form. So it's not the recommended way because this would not guarantee the form will behave the correct way. Instead of this, you must use the helpers provided by Process Maker to get the values, which will be like this one here, get value, and instead of value, you can also use the get value. Again, we'll take a look into these examples in a moment in our Dynaforms. So most of the times, you need to run queries or execute PHP scripts from the Dynaforms or within a Dynaform. So this is not actually possible unless you use an HTML request or by using Ajax, of course. But this is actually also not recommended or not a good practice in our Dynaforms, because it will work the right way, or it could work the right way in the desktop version, but it would not work in mobile versions of Process Maker. So it would not be the right way to do it. The right way, and strongly recommended, will be to use the REST API from Process Maker to use the connectors and use functions, or use your own REST connections. You can actually build a custom plugin and extend your REST connectors to execute and get information from the backend in Process Maker. If you need to get an element and from the DOM and get the DOM object, you are not just going to get it using JavaScript native code, but in this case you can use the get control method or the get control helper to get the control DOM object, or to get the grid DOM object, or to get even the entire form object. These are some other additional recommendations, which are the dependent fields overuse. Have in mind that when you're working with dependent fields, just like we did yesterday, we are making reference or making calls or Ajax calls to our backend system. So if you have a lot of dependent fields in one single form, that means that an Ajax call will happen for each of these dependent fields. So, for instance, if you have too much or too many dependent fields, that means that too many connections to a database or an Ajax calls will happen. So the form will have to wait for all these Ajax to get the response, and the form could behave slower in that case. Also, when we are working with JavaScript in Dynaforms, we can find a way to modify the CSS properties in the form. So, for instance, remember that the form only allows to have 12 columns in the containers. So if you modify or add more or remove these columns using jQuery and modifying the CSS properties, this could break the Dynaform and would not behave the same way or the right way. And finally, if you're going to use a redirector, or you're wanting to redirect some links after applying some or after doing some tasks in your Dynaforms, you're not allowed to do a redirect in mobile versions. You can just do a URL redirection only in the web version of Process Maker. So if you try to do it in the mobile, you will just not be able to do it. Okay, so let's continue with this. Let's get back here. And let's take a look into this list on what JavaScript can do in your Dynaforms. So it could dynamically hide and show fields or controls in your Dynaform based on some specific actions. You can change the text and the style from different properties of these fields in your Dynaform, so you can have a more customized form following some specific colors for your company or for your Dynaforms to be more friendly to the end users. So you can use some kind of alerts, validations, and you can actually automatically fill in some values into your fields. You can make calculations between different fields, just like you can do it with the formula, but in case you need to do something more specific in your forms, you can just use JavaScript to do this kind of calculation. You can also manage the grid operations, such as adding rows or removing rows or doing calculations between different columns and rows in your grids. And you can also add a specific format to the values in your fields. You can force to submit your form using some specific action. You can also close your windows or the browser tab, or you can even create a new tab and send in some information to that new tab in your browser. What you can't do with JavaScript is access data that is not included in the Dynaform. You cannot access a database server unless you're using an AJAX request, right, or an XML HTTP request from your JavaScript. You cannot do an operation in the server unless you do the same call, an AJAX call. You cannot use an external program or third-party application to interact with your Dynaform unless you can use an add-on for your browser, and this will allow you to actually execute a different program from your Dynaform. Let's go scroll down a little bit more. So in order to add JavaScript into your Dynaform, you just need to select your Dynaform from this from the gray border or from the outer border you have in your Dynaform designer. That means let's create a new process here for JavaScript. Let's say JavaScript sample1, like this. Okay, let's create a Dynaform here. I'll say Dynaform create form 1, save and open here. So we have this border here. Let's just click on it. We have the properties here. We already seen this before. We gave a quick look. This time we're going to click here in JavaScript edit. This will open the JavaScript editor we have, and here you can add your own code to be executed when the Dynaform will load. So you can use specific methods to execute code when the form loads, or just add code that will execute immediately when you preview the Dynaform or when you work on the Dynaform. You can also add your custom functions or add event handlers to manage your functions and your code, so they can just happen when you do some specific action. So for instance, a quick and really simple example will be to write an alert, JavaScript alert here, and say something like this is my JS code. Let's save this, and if we preview this form, you will see the alert. So the JavaScript code is executing like that. Let's go back here. Let's take a look to this auto completion feature we have in the JavaScript editor. And actually, if you take a look on the bottom left corner of this editor, you have this label here that says press Control space to activate auto completion. So let's press Control space, and you'll see this help will be enabled, so it could help you use some functions in your code like this. So you can, for instance, do bar my bar equals to, and just type your code. So I'm going to just leave this here. Let's add couple of controls here, like text bar 1. Let's say this will be name. Okay, I don't have anything here. Let's say name. Name. We can just get this. My bar will be equals to something like John Doe. Now let's say set value. This is the helper coming from Process Maker for these controls. My bar, and let's see my JS code, and I'm just setting values into my fields or into my controls. Okay, so let's take a look into this Dynaform structure. This is how the Dynaform and this is how the responsive Dynaforms are built in Process Maker. Take a look. We have a main PM Dynaform container, which is a div tag, and then we have inside this the complete structure for the form. We have the form element here, or the form tag, and then we have our controls. And this will be the structure for all the Dynaforms we have, and all this structure will be, or this will repeat for each control we have in our Dynaform. Take a look here. This is the form we have with 2 fields, and this is the structure for the field. So we have the container, we have the form, then we have the container for the fields, and then we have the field here. So it's very important to understand this structure in order to be able to edit some of these properties or customize some of the styles of these containers, or how to look into other elements, or get the class name, or get the element IDs from the structure, and then just use your jQuery or JavaScript code to modify this properties we have here. Of course, we need to be careful of not modifying or removing any of these elements using JavaScript, because this could break the structure and it will not behave the same way. It could cause some problems. Therefore, let's scroll down a little bit more. Okay, and let's take a look into these examples. We'll try to get all of them. Of course, we're not going to do everything with JavaScript, but we're just going to take the key parts. Let's take a look here. So we have this ways to get the object from the form, and we'll be just using the jQuery object. So we're just going to use you want to use the short way, or you can use jQuery to get the object, and then just use the ID of your control, which will be the name of the variable. So in this case, let's take a look. Let's gonna take a look here. Well, let's just do something like this, bar client. Yeah, we're gonna do a button here in a moment. Let's use this one, setting controls values. We're going to just do something like this, like we just did. You get the jQuery object, then you use the set value method to set any value you need into your control. So right here we have our code. Like this, we can get rid of this one here. Let's comment it. So I just added my variable and just set the value, right? It will be exactly the same way if we just do this. So we can just access the jQuery object or get the jQuery object from the element and set the value using the set value helper from Process Maker. Save it, and this is just a very simple example here. Okay, we can get the entire control here using the get control helper, and this will give us a chance to get the control and then just add some and any of the modifications we will have to, or we would like to add, in this case into the styles or into the elements inside the control. So this will get the entire control, and we can just modify it. We can validate the control, we can modify the style, include some other property into the control. So let's get one of these samples. For instance, we can get this one. Let's see, like this. Let's take a look into this. It will be name, get control, change the border style, the border color to blue. Let's take a look into it, and there it goes. Right, we just got the control. Once we get the control, we get the CSS styles, and we'll set the custom style. So let's take a look into this complete example here. Just let me comment this here, like this. I'll change name to all of this, like this, and it will have much sense if it's 500 or if it's an amount. So let's say if this is equals to John Doe, we blue. Let's see. John Doe. No, it's not getting it. Let's see. What am I missing here? Okay, let's do it like that. There it is. So it's John Doe. So whenever the mouse is over the control, it will turn to blue. Or if it's not, then it wouldn't do anything. Okay. This one will be better. Let's see. There it is. So there's no John Doe there. There you go. And that's it. So it's a very basic example on how to get the control. In this case, I'm getting the control and I'm adding an event handler for the mouse over. Oh, sorry. Yeah, okay. So I'm getting the mouse over and I'm just adding my function here to change the CSS property from the control. So let's take a look into this list here. These are the controls that are not supported by the get control helper. So we can't do it with titles. We can do it with labels, subtitles, panels, images, links, submits, files, buttons, grids, and subforms. And this is because they actually don't have an input document included in the Dynaform, so it doesn't make sense to be able to get the control since there's not an input control in the Dynaform. So in order to get one of these controls, you're not going to make reference by just doing the ID in the jQuery object. In case of the controls don't have this, you will have to use the form ID, and this will be the entire identifier inside this Dynaform when you want to get one of these controls or one of these elements. You can also use jQuery methods like find in order to find a specific element or a specific tag inside the containers. You can get just one of these and then edit the properties, just like here. You can get the link, find the link or the anchor tag, and then just modify the properties. So let's take a look into these samples here, like for this subtitle. Let's get back here. Let's add a subtitle. Example. Oh, I don't remember the name of the subtitle. Let's change it to subtitle 1. Oh, maybe it was the same one as here. Okay, subtitle 1, color red. Let's say this. Oh, and this is something that could happen a lot of times when you're working with JavaScript. Whenever you're trying to see the preview in your from your form, if you get something like this, you have this GIF image here, like just loading. That means something happened in the background, or something happened with the JavaScript code. That means there might be or should be some errors like this, like here. So this is why my preview is not loading. If I try to load it again, you see I have this error, and it says I have a missing parentheses there. So let's take a quick look and maybe we can find out where the error is. So I have subtitle, span, color, red. Let's see, where is it? Let's get rid of this here. Okay, still not working. Let's see what happened. Let me get this again. Okay, it's kind of weird. Let's get this one here. Let's get this title. Oh, sorry. Click on the JSON button. Let me try to get this refreshed. Okay, let's see where's JavaScript sample. Edit. Huh, kind of funny. Very simple code here. Let's see what we have here. Okay, I'll take a look into this issue when we were working on the lab. It's kind of funny because it's really simple code. So let's take a look into what else we have here. We can also try with this other example here. Let's see, we can get this one. Let's add a button here. this. Add the code. Let me see the name of the button. Let's copy this name. Calculate total. Okay, let's delete that one. Oh, let's get rid of the first line. One's giving me trouble. And there it goes. There's the background. Let's get back here. So we can just add all the settings we need to in our controls, like this one. This is for a label. Let's put it here. Let's add a label. There it is. So the event's working when the mouse is over. Okay. Okay, so let's continue working here. So as you could see before or earlier, all the controls in our Dynaform are enclosed or placed inside a div control, which is the main container. And then you have the control. So we can also get, scroll down, this div control that will contain the element. So we can do something like this. Let's use this example. So this is going to work on a field that is called client address. Let's put name for our control. Oh, like that. Let's save this. There it is, the name. If I just move the mouse over the control, now I'm editing the style of the container and now the control. So it's getting the outside div control containing this input element here. Here's another sample. This one would not work. Then the event, it would just set the value from a client number control. So I can just add here a new control and name it client number. And there it is. This one is with the event, this one without the event. So as you can see, we can access all the elements we have inside our controls here, even the containers. We can also change the styles. For instance, let's try to take a look into this example. This is for a title. Let's get here and let's add a title. This is my title. And let's add this code here. And there it is, my title with this style I just set with this example. Let's get it here back. And what about the labels for the controls? We're talking about this text here, like name or text 1. This could be client number, like this. Okay. So you can just find the span. So labels are stored in a span. I can scroll a little bit more over here to see the structure. Take a look here. We have the span. We have the label that is related to the control. And it also has the span which will store this label or the text that is related to a control. That will be this one here. So since it's a span, we can just access the span or look for the span and edit it. So for instance, we can do something like this. Let's use this one here. Let's edit. We'll do it for client number here. And let's see. There you go. So client numbers now with a different style. Like that. So you can also get the entire control or the entire object and then get some information from the control by using this index when you're getting the entire object. So you can just access to the element that will be in that object. In this case, if you want to get the form, you can just say use the form, use the ID of the form, and then get the entire DOM object from this form. So with something like this, you can just use the ID to get the CSS and then find one of the elements you want there. So for instance, you can change all you can look for all the input or text areas in this example and apply some specific style. So for this kind of examples, you could use, or you will have to use the forms, the Dynaform's unique ID. So for instance, let's use this example here. Let's get here. Let's add a couple of text areas here, like that. Another one, like that. And I'm going to use this example. I'll put this at the end of my code. And take a look, we have this ID, which is of course not a valid one, so I'm going to remove it. And I'm going to save this one moment, and I'm going to use this ID here, which is the Dynaform UID. It looks like it's not completed, but it's just the space we have here, so there's the complete ID. You just need to copy it, and we'll put it in here, like that. Save this. So we're getting just all the elements or all the input and text areas that are contained in this form. So since we're getting the complete Dynaform's DOM, that will give you the option to get all the controls contained. So you can just add any style to all the fields, and so that way you don't have to do it one by one, right? So since you have the entire data object model, you can do whatever you need with your JavaScript. So let's take a look into how to get the values and set the values. We were talking about that a little bit earlier. And this is something important you must take into account when you are working with formulas or doing some calculations with numbers using JavaScript. And take a look into this. You have the option to do formulas using these values. That means that the get value helper will actually get the value from the control, and we will parse it as a numeric value and not as a string. So for instance, if you have this value and you will add this 9.7, it will do the calculation with no problem. If you do it this way and you are marking it as strings, this will be different because it will not actually do the operation or do the calculation. It will just concatenate like this. If you have different type of data, like this one, you would just concatenate. Of course, these are just basic programming rules you have, and it's the same behavior here. Take a look into these comparisons, and also for the equal. So this is how you can do a formula. You can just get values from one field and get it into another one, and just do the calculation and put it in a new one. Let's take a look into this. Let's get here. Let's do something. Let's add some text boxes at the end. I'm going to do the following. I'll make this 3 columns like that. I'll put a text box here. That will be first. This will be second, and this will be result. Like that. Let's add JavaScript like this. This will be result. First and second. Of course, I don't have any event to calculate this, so this would not actually do anything, or anything will happen like that, because I don't have an event handler for this. Of course, I have it's not a number, but we can do actually. Let's try to add default values like 5 and 7 or whatever, and let's see how this behaves. There you go. So I have default values and the JavaScript is being executed. Of course, this is because of the default values, but we can add a handler event and a click event into a custom button, for instance, into this button 1 or a new button. So let's take a look into these events here. So you can do it in different ways. You can just use the jQuery object and then just use an event. You can get the control and add the event. You can find the element, the specific element, and do the event like that. Let's take a look into this example here. So let's see, we have our control. It's getting the control and it's doing the change. Oh, sorry, I just clicked on this again. It's doing the change, and we'll run a function. So we can just use this one and we'll change it for our example in the JavaScript. So let's get here. Let's edit this. Let's paste it here. I'm going to use all this code instead of all this other code. So we're going to take this out like that. Get control. We're going to change this, and we're going to use, for instance, this example. Click. Like that. And let's put something like calculate. Let's save this, and let's add a new button here. That will be calculate. Take a look into this. We'll get this here. Let's type something like 45 and 65. and calculate, and there's the result. So I'm just getting the control, and I'm just editing the values from the controls. So take a look. In order to avoid getting problems and getting the string from the controls, I'm just parsing it as an integer value. Same for here. And since I have two integers, I will just add those values and put it in the new field, the new val here. So events can be changed. Could be change event and add the event to each control, so you could calculate the result as soon as any of those fields are change their values, just like the formulas behave. But of course, this gives you more control on what needs to happen when you change something. Let's save this. So I'm going to stop with the JavaScript part here, and I'm going to open the next option here in the course, which is JavaScript functions and methods coming from Process Maker. Let's get here, and here you'll find a list of all the helpers, methods, and controls you can use in your Dynaforms, and all the helpers coming from Process Maker. For instance, you have up here some basic options that we have been checking. Today we have the jQuery objects. We can access the forms. Take a quick look into this methods and functions. So this is the way you can use. You can use the short way, or you can use the entire jQuery word to get the jQuery object from the controls. You can set a value, not only a value, you can also set a label like this. Let's take a look into this method to set a label, and you'll see it's really simple. We'll do it for name. Sorry. JavaScript, you will do it here. Now let's put it at the end. This will be full name, and this will be name. Save it. And there you go. Now we have set the label for the full name to whatever you need. Like that. So whenever we're working in the forms, you can not only use the ID for the controls. If you need to change something specific in your form, and like change the color or change the content or anything, you can just look into the class for that element, into the type of element, or you can get the attribute like this. And in order to get this information, you can just preview your Dynaform and use the DevTools to explore and just inspect your controls. So for instance, I can select this control, and I'll see this has its own class name like this. There's the ID like this. And remember, we said in case some controls are not supported by the get control helper, you can still use the form name to get the element. So you can see that here. Here's the class, so you can just get specific elements just with the regular way you would do it with JavaScript or jQuery code, like this. Remember the dot for the class. This is just the type. This is the attribute. Okay, so let's take a look here. This is accessing forms. Remember that we can use the Dynaform UID to access the jQuery object or the DOM object from the entire form. Then we can just get one of the attributes. Oh, sorry again here. So for instance, I can just get this. Let's get back here, and I'll change the background for the entire Dynaform. So I'll add this at the end, like that. Now I need to change this ID like this, and save this. And there's my form with the background, with a light gray background, or you can do it to whatever other property you need to change from the entire form, just like we did with the controls, right, with the input and text areas. Okay, you can also access subforms. Look into the syntax. It's almost the same. The only thing is that we're not going to look for any control type. We're just going to look using the ID. And in this case, you will use the ID of the subform you are looking for, which will be the control of the ID of the controller in your subform. You can also access fields inside your form DOM element or DOM object. You get the DOM using the form UID, and then you can just look for any control inside. Or you use find and the ID of the control or the field, and then you can use any regular helper to set the value or get the value. Like in this case, we'll look for the value and it will use it. Take a look into this right here. Let's copy this ID. Okay, it will look for name and it will set that value. Let's see. There you go. So it looks the DOM with the form ID. It will look for name and it will set the value. So we have these standard jQuery methods that are supported in the forms, like the attribute to add or remove attributes, or set values for the attributes. We also have show and hide. So we can just, let's see, we have this one. We have this event, mouse over, label, expand, font size. Let's get rid of this font size. It's very annoying to have it that big. Like that. And we're also going to add something here like just saying name dot show, like that, and hide, like that. And at the beginning it's also going to be hide. So let's see. So there's no name, and if I come here, there's name, no name. So standard jQuery methods will work here. I will also see the CSS. And let's take a look into this control methods. Let's take a look into this list. We have the get label, the set label, the get value, the set value. We also have the get text, the set text. This will be very helpful, get text and set text, when we are working with URLs or with link controls. So you can set the text that will be displayed. You can also set the value for the URL. You can also set, there's also a method to set the H reference here, the HTTP reference, like these ones, get and set. We have the disable validation and enable validation, which will make a field required or remove the required property from the field. We also have a lot of methods that will help you to customize and add additional functionality into your form controls. Here are some methods for the form, like set and change, set and submit, save form. So these methods, like the set and change, will launch an event when the control changes its value, and then it will fire some other function or fire some other code to do something you need when the value changes from one control. You also have to set on submit to fire code when the form is submitted. You have the save form, which will save the data in a Dynaform, and you can just leave this Dynaform in draft and then continue working on it later. But the data will be already stored in the database, so you don't have to start all over again. We have this submit form. This method will force the form to submit it. Also have the show modal, which will show this screen in your form. So you can use it to block your Dynaform when you're doing some maybe high weight activity to say form or get a response from a web service call or from a REST connection. So you can just show the model until the task ends. Let's go back to the top to the options or to the list. We have some specific methods for some kind of controls, like the field control, like the file control to clear the selection. We also have these two methods for to set the link for the link control. And we also have almost the same methods we have in some specific ones for the grids. We still have grid get control, get value. Like let's take a look into this. For instance, get value, and take a look into this one. The structure is kind of a bit different. We're still going to get the control using the grid variable name. But then, in order to get the value, we have to set the row and the column in order to get the values from the grid. We also have the set value, which works the same way, but this time we will have to include the value in the first place, and then include the row number and the column number. So we will set the values in the grid. We also have the option to get the text from this grid controls. We can set the text inside the grid controls. We can get the number of rows, which is really helpful in order to do a loop through all your grid and do maybe a calculation or get some data or give format to all the data. We have the method to add a new row in your grid. This will just add a new row. This will remove a row, and this time you will have to send a row index. We also have the grid on add row, which will fire the event when a new row is added. So you can add code, a specific code to give a specific format to that row, to that new row in your grid. Then we have this method, which is on show row dialog, and let me scroll down a little bit more, or maybe you can see the lists here. Let's see. Let's get here. This is on show row dialog, and this is a specific method to be used with the mobile application of Process Maker, because in mobile application you won't be able to add rows in the same way you do it in the forms. Remember that here you just need to click on the new or in the add row link in your grid, and it will just add a new row in the grid. But in the mobile version, if you will have a different button, and you will click on that button, and it will show you a dialog box in the screen. You will fill the data for this grid control in that screen, and then you will just accept, and the new row will be added. So that screen or that dialog box will be controlled with this method. So it could be on show row dialog. Scroll down, we have on delete row, we have disable validation to disable the column required property from one of the columns in the grid. The same for enable validation. We can hide a column and show a column. You can get a summary. In this case, get summary. You just need to send the column ID, and this is. Let me get back to the grids. Let's add a grid here at the bottom. Like that grid. Okay. I will add a text box and another text box. And let's take a look here. I'm going to select the fields or the controls added in the drop-down, in the grid, sorry. And let's take a look at the end of this properties list. And we have this function property, which will allow me to add sum or average. Let's try with this one. And let's see how this will work. So I have this row. Take a look. This is the function I just added for this column, the sum. If I add several rows, I can just add values, and the function will give me the total, the summarized value. So I can do this, or I can also get this information from the grid using the get summary function. Then we have some basic environment helpers, which will help me to get some information from the environment where process maker or where the Dynaform is being loaded from. So we can get the workspace name, the access token to access our REST connectors. We can get the host name or the environment. It will give us the name or the specifications from the device where the Dynaform is being loaded. Okay, and we also have this option to use flash messages. We will take a look into this also later. We're gonna add a flash message into our Dynaform to say if we are doing something or we are validating something. And this will give us something like info message in blue, a success message in green, a danger message in red, or a warning in yellow. We'll take a look into this in the next examples or in the following examples in the course. So that's how we can add JavaScript in our Dynaforms. Let's take a quick look into including external libraries in our Dynaforms. We already have seen this. You remember we did some examples with the panel control. We added external libraries to just load a table and load you remember the geotag or the map we added. We can just add our own external libraries into this property in your Dynaforms. For this, you just need to select the Dynaform, go to the properties, and you'll see the field for external libraries. So that's the way you can add your external libraries. Make sure these libraries are or have public access. If you have external libraries coming from the web, you need to make sure your server will be always connected to internet and be able to get that information from the network. But if you're not going to let your server connect to internet, then you can just build like a custom plugin and add your external libraries in your plugin and make reference. Use a relative URL to get your libraries from your own process maker server. So in order to do the examples for these external libraries, we're going to use the panel again. And remember we had some examples here. We used these ones. This one was for an iframe. Here we had this table. We had the map. We can also attach this video using the panel. It was just an iframe to add into the panel, so we can just copy this example here, get it here. Let's add the panel at the bottom like this, and I'm just going to add some content here, which is an iframe. I'll save it, and I'll take a look into the panel. There it is. There's the iframe, and it's just the video. Let's take a look to this other example here, which is a calendar. As you can see here, we will have to use all these external libraries, so you can just copy them from the documentation. Let's add a new panel here. There. Like this. Let's add the external libraries here. There it is. There they are. And let's see what we have here. Okay, we will have to create a variable var1. Let's use this one. Let's add the panel and a heating control in the designer. So let's add a heating control. Okay, the properties of the heating control are related to var1. Let's do this. Add the heating control. var1. That's it. And we have multiple calendar selection inside your project and open it. Let's open the panel, heating. Go to the panel properties. Let's create the panel. This will be the name. Okay, so we have this now set. We have the external libraries. Then let's add this code to the JavaScript we have here. Let's add the JavaScript. Let's put it down here. Like this. And we just need to add the content to this panel, which will be this HTML code. And that should be it. Let's now save it and try. Let's see what errors we have here. Oh, we have a lot of errors. Let's try to load it again. Let's see what we're missing here. It's not a jQuery. Okay, well, I will have to take a look into my external libraries. And yeah, well, I think I see the problem here. Well, the problem is that I'm trying to load HTTP content using HTTPS as my server connection or my server protocol here. So I'll have to check for this external library. So let's see if we can change it right now, or maybe these are not available from HTTPS. But let's take a quick look. Let's see. No, it looks like it will not get the libraries. Okay, so we will have to check with a HTTP server, see the content, and let's see. I guess this. Oh, there it is. Great, great. I guess not all the libraries were loaded, like these ones. Not resolved. Okay, it did get it. Okay, so there it is. And this is just using the external libraries and then using your jQuery or JavaScript code to consume these methods you have just included with external libraries here. For instance, this is okay, this is ours, this is the external library methods, and this is the other method. So this is up to panels. We already seen this before. So it's just adding external libraries and using JavaScript code to manipulate the HTML code inside your panels. Okay, so let's now take 10 minutes to complete the lab, and then we'll take a look into the quiz, and that will be it for today. Okay, hello guys, I'm back, and I have a question from Manuel Navarro, and it says, how can you change the fields on the top of the form? Case number and name, they doesn't appear in the Dynaform but are visible while running the case, and there's no code preview to check those variable labels. So if I'm not being mistake, let me see. Are you talking about like this here, or when you are running a case? For instance, let me create a new case here. Dynaforms. You're talking about this information here. Okay, so this would not be changed with JavaScript. This is information coming from the system. Case number won't be changed because this is actually the case that the number that would identify this case, but the title can be changed within the properties. We'll take a look into this when we get additional settings for our processes. But as a quick look, you can just go to properties and take a look into this case labels, and you have the title for the case. So this title will change depending on where you are in your process. So for instance, if you're in the first task and you add some specific information here, or a variable, like for instance could be task 4, and you can use the user logged here, then when you run a case, you'll see different information in the task title, which will also will change if you add the task title in this list. You will also change that label, and you will be able to see a custom value for that information. Like here, you'll see different information here in the task or in the case title. So we'll take, like I said, we'll take a look into this additional configuration in the processes later in the course, tomorrow or on Monday. Okay, so let's take a quick look into our quiz, like here. And we have the following. In order to make it easier to add custom JavaScript code Dynaforms, Process Maker features a set of custom JavaScript functions such as set label, get value, get control. The following tasks can be achieved by adding custom JavaScript code into Dynaform. That will be modifying text and styles in the text controls. We have populating fields when HTML events happens. We also have sending notifications. We also have dynamically hiding and showing fields. We'll use this one. And we also have validating and standardizing data like this. And we can use populating fields when HTML event happens. We also have custom JavaScript code in Dynaforms can include Process Maker custom JavaScript function and methods, native JavaScript functions and methods, jQuery functions and methods. You can press Ctrl and space to enable the auto-completion feature. That's true. Custom JavaScript code can be added to a Dynaform by dragging and dropping JavaScript into a Dynaform design, editing Dynaform properties, or right-clicking on the Dynaform and selecting Add JavaScript. So it will be editing the properties and clicking the JavaScript button. Let's finish this attempt. That's it. Oh, I missed one. It will be this. Yeah, I will send in notifications about data entry. That could be done with alert boxes. So I just missed to select this other option here. Okay, so let's finish this quiz here. Like this. Just click on reattempt. Let's go back to the course. And that will be it for today, guys. If anyone has any question, please let me know. If not, then we will see you again tomorrow. So for tomorrow we have triggers. We're going to look into triggers. We'll also see process configuration. Let me get this. We'll also see process configuration and running a process. Let me see. I think we have a question. Okay, so the question is, how can you import JSON or JavaScript libraries into Process Maker instances? Well, right now we will have to wait for advanced features, because right now you cannot import like an external library into Process Maker. For that, you need a custom plugin where you can upload all your libraries or your script files, store them in that custom plugin, and then make reference to that files within your Dynaform, just like we did with the external libraries in the web, but you can do it using a custom plugin. So we can take a look into that later in the course, because we first need to know how to build custom plugins and add custom code to those plugins. But that comes with the developer course, so we'll have to wait for that. Okay, so if there are no more questions, then we're done here, and we will take the next lessons tomorrow. Okay, so have a good day, guys, and we'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye.